Romanian police are expanding their investigation of the former kickboxer Andrew Tate.
A controversial influencer, Andrew Tate, has been accused of putting a gun in a woman's face.
Police in Romania are questioning Andrew Tate into alleged crimes, including sex with a minor and money laundering.
Andrew Tate, a name that once set social media ablaze, built on lies and sophisticated schemes. He claimed to be a four-time kickboxing champion, but the professional community does not recognize this. Hustlers University was promoted as a secret to wealth, but in reality, it was just a multi-level marketing scheme, exploiting money from his own fans. All that glamour piled up to create an arrogant alpha male persona, but it ultimately led to a cold conclusion. Arrested in Romania facing charges of human trafficking, abuse, and money laundering with the possibility of years in prison. Nevertheless, it cannot be denied that Andrew Tate was once a global phenomenon. In 2022 alone, he garnered over 12 billion views on TikTok and had more than 200,000 students willing to pay to hear him lecture on secrets to success. This flashy, powerful, and supremely confident image made millions of young people both idolize and debate him.
I think Andrew Tate is a unique evil in the world, and he's influencing a generation of younger men. That is a unique evil, I think.
Is Andrew Tate truly a victim of a shadowy force he calls the Matrix, or is this just a performance exposing the truth behind the glamorous facade? Where does the truth lie? That's the question we'll trace together as this video will decode the titles Tate once boasted about to the cracks gradually appearing behind the mask. Before becoming the name that set social media ablaze, we should rewind to the time when the spotlight still shone brightly on him. Andrew Tate was once a professional kickboxer. He claimed to have won 4 world championships in different organizations. Belts he often flaunted as proof of his superior strength. In the ring, his tenacious fighting style and ability to knock out opponents helped him craft an image of an invincible warrior in the eyes of his followers. But Tate didn't stop at martial arts. He transformed the glory of being a fighter into a springboard to build a larger persona, an icon of modern masculinity. Stepping out of the cage, Tate donned expensive suits, drove multi-million-dollar supercars, lived in lavish mansions, and wore dazzling diamond watches. These images quickly spread across the internet. And then he began to speak not about martial arts but about how to be a real man. His message was simple yet incredibly compelling. Men are being weakened by society. I am the true alpha model. However, things don't stay heroic forever. The brighter you shine, the easier it is for the darkness within to be exposed. And for Tate, that darkness didn't come from any external enemy, but from the very words he once proudly proclaimed. Andrew Tate often painted his childhood as a cinematic starting point for his journey to becoming an alpha superhero. He spoke of his father, a chess grandmaster, and his own feat of winning the Indiana State Championship at age 5. A story that sounds like it stepped out of a novel.
My father was a chess grandmaster. I was on track to become a chess grandmaster. So
he was a legitimate chess grandmaster.
My father was the highest rated black chess player in history.
Really?
Yeah. So my father was a big G in chess.
Yeah.
So I kind of grew up around all these chess geniuses, which is a really unusual way to grow up because you have like ex-KGB guys.
But the reality is far more modest. His father, Andrew Tate, was indeed a talented chess player, but he only held the title of international master, one rank below grandmaster. As for Tate's victory at age 5, no records of it exist. When pieced together, these details reveal a clear pattern, exaggerating facts and turning them into legend. This wasn't just harmless fabrication. For Tate, every story was a tool. Instead of an ordinary childhood, he crafted an extraordinary origin story, planting in his audience's minds the impression that he was born exceptional. And from that belief, millions of young men began to see Tate as a role model to follow. Yet, when the real details were exposed, the public's initial reaction was one of shock. Many couldn't believe that the born genius persona they had once admired was built on exaggerated fragments. At first, there were only small questions and cautious whispers, but those seeds of doubt grew into an ever-widening gap. From widespread praise, the community began to view Tate with more skepticism. Some fans tried to defend him, but more and more people felt as though they had been led astray by a fabricated story. And it was in that moment when absolute trust turned to doubt that the path to a mass turning away was paved. Facing mounting doubts, Andrew Tate didn't choose silence. He stepped forward with his familiar demeanor, defiant, confident, and arrogant. To his fans, this was the image of a man who never backed down. But this time, his response took a different turn. He didn't offer explanations but instead spun a new narrative. A powerful matrix was trying to silence him. At first, this message resonated with many. Perhaps everyone wanted to believe their idol was a victim, that every crack was merely the work of a shadowy force. But could a vague accusation be enough to cover everything? The public awaited the truth, a concrete explanation, not another act in the drama. And it was at that moment that the admiration began to fracture. What Tate thought was a weapon to defend himself turned out to be the seed of betrayal. The crowd still watched, but no longer with the eyes of fans, now with cold suspicion. This shift caused 50% of his loyal audience to turn away and rethink their view of him. As the story of his genius chess prodigy childhood began to falter, Andrew Tate needed another platform to assert himself. The kickboxing ring became fertile ground for him to build his legend. On social media, he often claimed to be a 4-time K1 world champion, a title impressive enough to leave anyone in awe. But the truth was far different. From 2009 to 2012, Tate did compete and win a few belts in lesser-known tournaments like the International Sport Karate Association, ISA, or Infusion. These names carried little weight in the professional kickboxing world as they were low-tier events with mostly average opponents. The 76 wins and 9 losses record Tate frequently boasted about wasn't particularly remarkable compared to true elite fighters of his time. This exaggeration of achievements became a strategy.
I cannot stand when people act like they know how to fight, but they really don't. And then they go on and try and teach people or convince them they're experts in the sport. Absolutely drives me crazy. It's one of the reasons I started this channel. I looked at some of the other instructors out there on YouTube and I went, oh my gosh.
It helped him build credibility as the K1 champion label was convincing enough to create a trustworthy facade, making audiences believe they were following a world-class fighter. From this veneer, Tate easily attracted fans and made money. Fabricated accomplishments became a promotional tool for his online courses where the image of a martial arts champion was fully exploited to sell the illusion of success to hundreds of thousands of students. Above all, it was a way to feed his enormous ego. A perfect invincible persona couldn't be shaken by mundane truths. Admitting reality would mean tearing down the image he had painstakingly crafted.
People who don't fight have this idea that you just keep your gloves up to protect yourself, but the problem is that doesn't work. If I punch 20%, right? If I'm actually going, just like, your face will be a mess. So the idea that you just cover up doesn't work, because if I'm landing knuckle, I'll break all the bones in your hand, your glove will go into your own hand. You can't just stack and stick.
As the truth gradually came to light, many fans found themselves in a state of confusion. To them, Tate was not just a fighter but a symbol of strength and success. So, the revelation that his glittering titles weren't entirely truthful hit like a heavy blow, prompting many to question the entire philosophy they had once believed in. If one achievement could be exaggerated, could his other teachings truly be trusted? This skepticism quickly spread beyond his fan base, igniting a wave of debate on social media. Those who already disliked Tate seized the opportunity to publicly criticize him, widely sharing information as proof that the Alpha King persona was merely a facade. On the other hand, some staunchly defended him, believing it was an orchestrated attack to bring down a figure who dared to speak truths the majority avoided. These opposing reactions turned the story from an individual matter into a fierce clash of perspectives within the community. Amid the growing uproar, Andrew Tate didn't choose to admit or apologize. Instead, he spun another narrative, claiming he was the target of a smear campaign. According to him, those exposing the truth were simply jealous of a successful man and were doing everything to bring him down. Rather than confronting the evidence directly, Tate skillfully deflected by constantly redirecting public attention. When the story of his fabricated achievements surfaced, he appeared in new videos flaunting supercars, luxurious homes, or dropping controversial statements. This noise caused many to temporarily forget the root of the scandal, once again focusing on the dramatic persona. In particular, Tate mastered the art of reshaping his own story. From claiming to be a great kickboxing champion, he began portraying himself as a survivor in a world full of conspiracies. This shift allowed him to maintain his alpha image in the eyes of loyal fans, albeit in a different form. No longer a champion, but an unyielding warrior against forces trying to silence him. But was this truly the survival instinct of a man adept at turning the tide, or merely a desperate attempt to cling to a fading spotlight? Unlike before, when scandals were quickly overshadowed by new theatrics, this time the audience wasn't so forgiving. They didn't just question, they relentlessly pursued, digging into every detail and spreading evidence across forums. The feeling of betrayal turned into collective anger. And from that, the Alpha King persona began to crumble in a way Tate couldn't easily reverse. The cracks in the kickboxing story were just a small slice of the bigger picture. The deeper one digs, the clearer it becomes that this exaggeration wasn't a one-off moment, but a recurring pattern.
I was in England, I got tired of England, I had to decide to move somewhere, and I'd fought in Romania a few times. And I decided to go to, in fact, I'll tell you this whole story.
When Tate moved to Romania, he spun a captivating tale. A courageous man abandoning the corrupt West to seek freedom in a new land. It was a bold declaration that easily resonated with young people questioning traditional values and yearning for a different path. But guess what? Did he move to Romania for adventure or simply to evade the police? The answer isn't hard to deduce. Behind the facade was a far less noble purpose. Old clips reveal the real reason wasn't about justice, but about dodging allegations tied to the Me Too movement while taking advantage of a system where corruption could serve as an escape from personal troubles. Crafting a fabricated motive not only helped him conceal the truth, but also turned a weakness into a strength, maintaining his moral alpha image in the eyes of his fans. On a deeper level, Tate tapped into his audience's anxieties about the collapse of Western values and the spread of woke culture, positioning himself as a defender of tradition. This stance both reinforced his persona and provided a psychological anchor, making many loyal fans willing to stand by him despite inconsistencies or contradictions in his narrative.
Because why? Because Tate is still under house arrest on suspicion of human trafficking. So he got out of jail a number of weeks ago and will remain under house arrest until we'll go to trial. So there were a lot of interesting things to take out of this interview, notably how much Tate has tailored his misogyny.
However, this approach gradually tested the public's patience. Each fabricated story, each lie or ploy, instead of merely polishing his image, became a test of his fans' trust. The focus on fear and the idolization of a superhero image increasingly exposed its limits. The audience's faith isn't infinite, and contradictions would soon lead to doubt, disappointment, and even abandonment. If you thought the stories about his childhood or choice of residence were just theatrics, think again. They're merely the tip of the iceberg. Romania wasn't just a safe playground for Tate. It was where he tested his strategy for building a persona, controlling the narrative, and most importantly, turning all that attention into profit. From these seemingly trivial details, a pattern emerges. Every lie, every embellished detail wasn't just to polish his image, but to serve a core purpose. Building a business model based on manipulation and exploiting trust. Tate wasn't just selling courses. He was selling a lifestyle and identity. He knew many young fans were searching for a father or brother to guide them. And by donning the image of an unequivocally successful man, he made them believe he held everything they craved: wealth, power, confidence. This gave rise to Hustlers University. Marketed as the key to wealth, it was in reality a sophisticated multi-level marketing scheme. Fans paid $50 a month to join, and the numbers multiplied exponentially. Within a year, over 200,000 people signed up, translating to at least $10 million a month, flowing directly to Tate. For those who believed this was their ticket to a world of riches, realizing they were just a cog in his money-making machine was a devastating shock. On forums, former students began sharing chilling confessions.
I lost nearly $600 in a year and got nothing in return except a few clips I could have found for free on YouTube. We didn't learn how to make money, we only learned how to pull more people into this cycle.
The most painful thing isn't the lost money, but realizing my trust was exploited.
However, this approach gradually tested the public's patience. Each fabricated story, each lie or ploy, instead of merely polishing his image, became a test of his fans' trust. The focus on fear and the idolization of a superhero image increasingly exposed its limits. The audience's faith isn't infinite, and contradictions would soon lead to doubt, disappointment, and even abandonment. If you thought the stories about his childhood or choice of residence were just theatrics, think again. They're merely the tip of the iceberg. Romania wasn't just a safe playground for Tate. It was where he tested his strategy for building a persona, controlling the narrative, and most importantly, turning all that attention into profit. From these seemingly trivial details, a pattern emerges. Every lie, every embellished detail wasn't just to polish his image, but to serve a core purpose. Building a business model based on manipulation and exploiting trust. Tate wasn't just selling courses. He was selling a lifestyle and identity. He knew many young fans were searching for a father or brother to guide them. And by donning the image of an unequivocally successful man, he made them believe he held everything they craved: wealth, power, confidence. This gave rise to Hustlers University. Marketed as the key to wealth, it was in reality a sophisticated multi-level marketing scheme. Fans paid $50 a month to join, and the numbers multiplied exponentially. Within a year, over 200,000 people signed up, translating to at least $10 million a month, flowing directly to Tate. For those who believed this was their ticket to a world of riches, realizing they were just a cog in his money-making machine was a devastating shock. On forums, former students began sharing chilling confessions.